You are about to enter Habs After Dark with Recliner Sports.
3, 2, 1, 0.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Habs After Dark. My name is Devin. This is Recliner Sports, and what do we think? As Matt Drake would say, how are you now? How are you now? What did you think of that game, ladies and gentlemen? What are your thoughts? 6-1 victory for the Montreal Canadiens. Certainly hasn't gotten any more dominant than that this year. That's as dominant a performance as we've seen from the Canadiens. Yes, obviously there may have been, a scenario or a situation where, Alexa, turn on the basement bedroom lights.
Okay.
That might have been a scenario where, they were playing a weaker team, but you have to play the competition that's put in front of you. And so, I don't want to talk about that. So before we get started, guys, I want to invite all of the people over on TikTok. I see you over there on TikTok. We are doing our show live on YouTube. If you do want to come over and join, all you have to do is follow the instructions that are on the screen behind my head here. Come over to YouTube and follow Recliner Sports 4. Come on in and join the conversation. We have a few people in the room right now. We have Claude, Entertap. So let's get into it. Montreal Canadiens 6-1 victory over Buffalo. My big takeaway from this game and what I look for when I watch the Montreal Canadiens now, are they do they have winning habits? Do they have habits that you expect to see from a winning hockey team? So that's what I was really focused on when I was watching the game today was, looking for those winning habits and whether or not the Canadiens showed those winning habits. So the first winning habit that I saw from the team tonight was off to a good start, right? 19 seconds into the game, they get the first goal of the game. They're coming into a game against a team that's struggling. It's been all over the news. We've seen the quotes from their coach. We've seen the fact that their owner flew all the way to Montreal to have a conversation with the team, to talk to them about what's going on, to give them a bit of a vote of confidence. And so you don't know what you're going to get from these guys, right? Are they going to continue to struggle? Are they going to come out and be, the same team that's lost 10 games in a row? Or are they going to come out like a caged tiger? Right? Are they going to be, are they going to be encouraged by the message that they got from their team owner? And are they going to, step on the ice and are they going to be a handful? Right? You don't know that, right? And so, winning teams will go into a game like this knowing that they have to be ready to go. They have to be on their toes, and they can't sort of go into the game and sort of feel their way around. They got to go out and set the tone, right? And that's basically what Montreal did here in this game. They scored the first goal of the game. They took advantage of a team that was struggling, and they didn't give them an opportunity they didn't give them any sort of, any breath. They jumped on top of them right away. They didn't give them any room. They didn't give them any opportunity to get any momentum. They didn't give them any opportunity to get, encouraged, to feel good about themselves. They made sure that the Buffalo Sabres knew that they were the team that was struggling, and that the Montreal Canadiens were going to take advantage of that tonight. So, I thought that was very, very positive. They scored the goal 19 seconds into the game. I think about midway through the first period, they were up 10-0 in shots on goal, and they set the tone for the rest of the game. They made sure that Buffalo remained that team that has 10 consecutive losses. They didn't allow them the opportunity to break out of that slump. Some people will say that, yes, this is a big game and a dominant game by Montreal, but that they only took advantage of a struggling team. They took advantage of an inferior team. And that's true. But guess what? That's what winning teams do, right? Montreal has had a number of opportunities this year to play against teams that they ought to do well against, right? Teams that they should beat or teams that they should compete well against. Pittsburgh, right? We don't have to go back that far. Pittsburgh, right? Not a team that we necessarily feel like we should beat, but certainly a team that, is ripe for the picking. A team that, isn't a team that's, doing very well. It's not a team that we would expect the team to struggle against, and Montreal should go out and at least be able to compete very well with them, and hopefully if they're on the rise, they should be able to beat that team. Well, they can't, they don't, right? So there have been other scenarios this year where they went into games against teams that are struggling, teams that are perhaps not as good as they are, or at least on an even level with them, and they haven't been able to take advantage of it. So again, this the idea that this win doesn't count as much because they were playing against a team that was in trouble or a team that was struggling or whatever. You have to play the team that they put in front of you, right? You don't apologize for taking advantage of a weaker opponent. Good teams win when they're supposed to, right? It's not, you don't, we always talk about teams playing down to their competition. Well, good teams don't do that. Good teams play good every night. They play well every night. They beat everybody that gets put in front of them. So just because Buffalo was a struggling team doesn't mean that this win means any less or that it has any less value. So I think that's really, really important. And you also can use games like this to to build good habits, to come out of slumps, right? You can, if you're one of the players on the team that's struggling, here's an opportunity for you to take advantage of a weaker opponent and use this game to perhaps gain some confidence and some momentum so that you can change the trajectory of where your season's going. And we saw that from two guys tonight. I'm not suggesting that they're back to their old selves completely, but Uri Slafkovsky and Kirby Dach both played really, really well tonight. Right? What's up, Auntie? Thank you for coming. Is it 2-0? I'm not watching the game right now, but I will shortly. But that's the Flames are looking good. So like I said, this is an opportunity for players who aren't playing their best. It's an opportunity for teams to, for players to come out of slumps, right? So again, I thought we saw good performances from both Kirby Dach and especially from Uri Slafkovsky tonight. So these are, confidence-building games that they hopefully can carry over, throughout, the rest of the week, the rest of the season, and this, hopefully we can look back on this game as a bit of a turning point for some of those guys, right? Developing good habits. I thought that the Canadiens did a good job of that. It's very easy when you're dominating another team to sort of develop bad habits, to sort of to let your foot off the gas, to slack off, to not not have that killer instinct, right? And I thought Montreal did a good job of that tonight. I think one of the issues that we've talked about with this team is their emotional letdowns. I think there were some brief emotional letdowns tonight. There were some soft spots in the game. Now you can attribute that to the Canadiens letting off the gas a little bit, or you can attribute it to the Buffalo Sabres picking up their game to a certain extent as well. So it depends on how you want to look at it. But again, tonight I think the Canadiens did a very good job of weathering those periods, minimizing those periods, like keeping them to a minimum, right? So they didn't fall asleep for an entire period, sort of like they did against Pittsburgh the other night. They didn't sort of fall apart and just let let everything fall apart. I thought they kind of lost their shape a little bit, sort of the last 5 minutes, the first 5 minutes of the second period. They were not the dominant team during that 10-minute period or during that 10-minute time frame. Dylan Cousins scored Buffalo's only goal of the game during that time period. But again, the Canadiens didn't allow that period to sink them, right? They weathered that period, they survived that period, and they came back from it, and they didn't allow it to define the entire game. They didn't allow it to define their entire performance. They weathered that storm. Samuel Montembeault did his job, played his game, and the other players turned it around. And instead of letting that become the trajectory, they stopped that trajectory and turned it back in the right direction. So I thought there was another brief, dead period, sort of the last 5 minutes of the second. So again, it was, they weathered the storm. They allowed Buffalo to have their good performance and their, that part of their game. And then they turned around and they brought it all back. So I thought it was a really good game overall. Again, some will argue that it's an inferior team, it's a struggling team, and what have you. But again, you've got to play the team that's put in front of you. You've got to beat the good teams. You've got to beat the bad teams. If you want to be a Stanley Cup contender, you have to be able to beat everybody. You can't be a team that lets down. You can't be a team that sort of plays down to your competition. You have to be a team that plays the game that's put in front of you. So I thought it was a very good performance, top to bottom, for the Montreal Canadiens tonight. So let's go through the game quickly. If you have any questions, guys, if you're over there on TikTok, I see you guys. If you want to join the conversation, if you want to be part of the show, come on over. Follow the instructions on the screen behind me. Come over to YouTube. The channel is called Recliner Sports 4, and we are doing a live show here called Habs After Dark. We would love to have you. You're more than welcome. We'd love to have you join the conversation and come take part. If you do come over here on YouTube, you will be able to ask questions, to engage in the conversation with others, and to see the entirety of the show with the graphics and so on and so forth. So we're going to go right away to the scoreboard here, folks. We'll have a look at the scoreboard and have a chat about it. A pretty fun-looking scoreboard for the Montreal Canadiens tonight, as we know. I want to talk about one thing in particular that might be, I don't know if it's bothering you as much as it's bothering me, but here we see Montreal 6, Buffalo 1. We'll get into some of the secondary stats in a second, but let's just go through the scoring first. So we see 19 seconds into the game, as we talked about, we saw the first goal of the game by Yoel Armia. Stand by, this computer is trying to be difficult. Yeah, so we have the first goal by Yoel Armia. Let me just have a peek at my notes here. Turnover created by Armia in the defensive zone. The puck ends up with Emil Heineman at the blue line. Heineman makes a nice pass to Jake Evans at the offensive blue line. Evans enters the zone and he cuts towards the middle. He shoots. Jake Evans goes in and he shoots wide of the net. The rebound bounces back in front of the net. Terrible defensive zone coverage by Buffalo. They leave everybody alone in front of the net. And the puck ends up back on Yoel Armia's stick because nobody seems to want it. And he puts the puck into basically an empty net. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen really doesn't expect it. Like I said, the rebound comes off the backboards, and Armia is able to put that puck in the net. 1-0 Montreal, 20 seconds into the game. It's a great start. The next goal is Patrik Laine's first of the night, his fourth of the season. It's a power play goal. Incidentally, about a minute and a half before this goal, Patrik Laine had a goal called back. It wasn't really a goal called back. It was a goal that the referee originally thought had gone into the net, but the replay showed that it actually hit the post and never actually went into the net. So it didn't count as a goal, obviously. And there was also some question about whether or not the play might have been offside at the blue line, but we never really had to get to that. But in any event, at 6:26 of the first period, Patrik Laine scores his first of the game from Suzuki and Slavkovsky. Slavkovsky's 14th assist of the season. It's a power play goal. The Canadiens are controlling the play in the offensive zone. They're moving the puck around quite well. They're keeping it to the outside for the most part. A bit of a theme on the night. Suzuki gets the puck in the bumper position, and as he does, the Buffalo defense kind of breaks down a little bit, and Laine is left all alone at the left faceoff dot basically, and he just fires a rocket one-timer past Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. And there's really, again, it's just a typical Patrik Laine goal. A blast, one-timer, and Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen just can't handle it. We'll get to the questions in a second, guys. Just let me get through the goals here, if you don't mind. I apologize, but I'll go through it as quickly as I can. So that's 2-0 the Canadiens after the first period. Again, like I mentioned earlier, there's a bit of a slow period for the Canadiens, sort of at the end of the first, beginning of the second. That led to the Sabres' only goal of the game from Dylan Cozens. Cozens lays out Alex Newhook, sort of a bit of an awkward hit, kind of not necessarily from behind, but sort of from the blind side a little bit. Knocks Newhook off the puck. The puck ends up on Owen Power's stick. Power skates the puck out of the zone and into the neutral zone. He crosses the Canadiens' blue line, and as he does a quick little drop pass to J.J. Peterka. Peterka with a one-touch pass across to Dylan Cousins, who's coming in as a bit of a trailer across the blue line. And there's no real resistance for Cousins from the Canadiens' defense, and Cousins is able to skate right into the high slot, and he fires a shot high, and he beats Samuel Montembeault. That's at 3:43 of the of the second period. And it's a 2-1 game. And at that point, I'm not panicking, but I'm worrying a little bit. My finish is pretty good. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, I do my best. I do my best, Auntie. It's not great, but I do my best. I did meet a bunch of Finnish military guys when I was in Florida last week, though. That was an interesting conversation. Some Finnish guys and some Dutch guys. So anyways, so it's 2-1. And at this point, again, I'm not panicking, but I'm thinking, here we go again, right? The Canadiens have gotten off to a really, really hot start, but they've kind of let down a little bit. They've allowed a goal. Is this going to be a scenario where they they kind of let down a little bit and they let the game get away from them? And they didn't. Less than, about a little over 2 minutes later, Juraj Slafkovsky scores his third goal of the game from Caulfield and Savard. Savard shoots the puck, and Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen is able to steer the puck into the corner. Caulfield gets the puck behind the net. He tries a bit of a wraparound, and the puck ends up behind the net again. And again, not great defensive zone coverage from the Sabres. And Slafkovsky is able to bank the puck in off UPL Luukkonen's back and into the net. So a bit of a lucky goal, if you want to call it that, but also a pretty smart goal from Slafkovsky to see that opportunity and to take advantage of it. The Canadiens come right back 5 minutes later. Another power play goal from Laine. Very similar to his first goal. The Canadiens are controlling the puck in the Buffalo zone. Suzuki gets the puck in the bumper, in the high slot between the two circles kind of thing. And this time he does a bit of a dipsy doodle behind the back pass to Patrik Laine, who for whatever reason is all alone in that exact same spot on the left-hand face-off circle, and he just buries another one past Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. And again, it's almost a carbon copy of the first goal. It's just another blast from Laine, and he's just he said sort of after the game, he sort of closes his eyes and shoots. I don't think that's quite exactly right, but again, his shot is so quick and powerful that it's hard for the goalie to get across. That change of direction makes it really difficult on the goaltender. So it's now at that point it is 4-1 for Montreal, and again they've recovered from that dead period, and things are looking really good. And then about a little over a minute later, Laine gets his hat trick goal, right? He scores from Caulfield and Hudson again on the power play. They're controlling the puck in the Buffalo zone, again, very similar to Laine's first two goals. Hudson is playing down low. He gets the puck down sort of right around the side of the net. He then feeds Cole Caulfield, who is in the bumper zone. He's not really in the bumper position. He's a little bit higher. He's kind of more on the point at this stage. So Hudson passes to Caulfield sort of up at the point, and then Caulfield finds Patrik Laine, who amazingly, again, is wide open at that exact same spot, that left face-off dot, and he just blasts another one past Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. It's his hat trick. He's got a big smile on his face. The crowd is all going wild. It's a pretty pretty good time. Everyone's having fun. So the Canadiens do add another one in that second period to go up 6-1. It's Anderson from Dvorak and Gallagher. Nice play behind the net. Nice work behind the net with Dvorak and Gallagher kind of cycling the puck back and forth, controlling the play behind the opponent's net. Dvorak eventually steps out in front of the net, takes a shot. The save is made by Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. However, he gives up a bit of a rebound that squirts over to the side of the net. And Josh Anderson is Johnny on the spot. He's sitting there, and he is able to put that puck into the net. And he makes the score 6-1. And as we see, that's all for the scoring on the game. That's all she wrote. There was no scoring in the third period. Canadians kind of let off the gas a little bit in the third period, which I didn't love to see. I thought, I get that. I get that you don't want to embarrass your opponent and you kind of want to, you don't want to sort of pile on. But at the same time, when you're a team that's, trying to come out of some struggling times and I think that you can use that. For one thing, I would have liked to see them try to keep the pressure on to see if they could get over 30 shots for the first game, for the first time all year, and they didn't do that. So the shots, 11 to 3 in the first period for Montreal, 10 to 10 in the second period, and they were outshot 8 to 6 in the third. The total was 27-21. It looked like they were well on their way to passing that 30 shots on goal mark for the first time all year, but they didn't. They came up just short at 27. This is where I kind of want to talk about how reliant we should be on advanced statistics. I have no idea how Natural Stat Trick tracks their statistics. I have no idea like the details behind it. I don't know any of that stuff. But the high danger scoring chances and the expected goals tracked tonight in this game are a mystery to me. If anybody can explain to me how after that game the high danger scoring chances for both teams were even at 11, and the Buffalo Sabres had more expected goals for than the Canadiens by half a goal, I would be more than happy to listen to your explanation. I will be all ears. If you can explain that to me and make me understand that, I would be ecstatic. But the shots are 11 to 3 for Montreal in the first period, but yet the high danger scoring chances are equal at 5. I don't understand how Buffalo has 3 shots on goal, but 5 high danger scoring chances. I don't understand that. It's a mystery to me. I'll never figure it out. It's possible that it could be an error. It's possible that it could be changed later on, and if it is, I guess I won't apologize, but I'll certainly understand. But again, I'm at a complete loss to understand how both teams could have been even as far as high danger scoring chances are concerned in that game, and I'm even more perplexed at how somebody would watch that game by whatever metric or matrix or algorithm or whatever they're applying to that game, whether they could watch that game and they would determine that Buffalo had more expected goals. And these are all these numbers that I'm giving you here are all on, they're not 5-on-5. They're all situations. They're all strengths. So it's not a matter of the power play, making a difference. It didn't. Again, I would love for somebody to explain that to me. So if you're watching the live right now and you have an explanation, if you're watching a replay and you have an explanation, look me up. Let me know. I would love to know about it. But again, even if there is an explanation for these numbers and how you came to these numbers, if these numbers are telling us that somehow Buffalo was in this game tonight, then the value of these statistics then fall into question, right? So if you're trying to assess this game by looking at high danger scoring chances and expected goals, you're expecting that this was a close game. You're expecting that this was a close game and that perhaps even Buffalo, carried the game to some degree. And again, there's just absolutely no way you can conclude that if you actually watched this game. So one, I wonder how they come up with these numbers, and two, if there's a good explanation about how they come up with these numbers, I just wonder why they come up with these numbers. Like what do they contribute to the conversation? Like what do we gain by knowing these numbers? Like what purpose do they serve? Like what purpose does it serve us to know that Buffalo led Montreal in any category tonight, right? Is it some sort of an indication that the Buffalo Sabres got beaten by a better goalie tonight? Is that what it's trying to tell us? I mean, that's an absurd conclusion. Like I don't know what it's trying to tell us. So I welcome anybody who wants to explain that further to me. I'm all ears. I will not argue with you. I'm happy to listen, but I don't get the advanced statistic numbers from tonight's game. They just don't make any sense to me. So before we move on to the A team, maybe we can see if we have any questions here. We have Entertap is in the room. And Entertap says it was a necessary and much needed win for the Habs. Absolutely, it was a breath of fresh air. Again, I hope that they can use it to break out of some of the players who are struggling a little bit. Hopefully, they can use that to break out of those slumps and carry that on to the next game. We already talked about Anti's comment about the Flames game. I don't know what's the score now, Anti. Is it still 2-0? Hello, Frank. What's going on? Frank says, hello, Devin. Played a very good game. Montreal played a very good game, but Buffalo is a very bad defense team right now. Any good team would have stayed on line A all night on the power play. I can't depend on that all the time. I agree with that, but again, I think you're kind of bringing up the point I said before, Frank. I get it. They're not a great team, and they're not playing well right now, and they didn't have a good game, but that doesn't change the fact that they took advantage of a team, right? You've got to beat the team that they put in front of you, right? You got to beat the team that they put in front of you. So again, I'm not buying that this win is diminished in any way because Buffalo is in a struggling position and that they're not playing their best hockey. LeCavalier and Hughes both in Russia to see Demidov play. Does he finish the year there? The answer is I don't know, but I will say that I almost fell out of my chair when I was watching the game this afternoon, and I saw Vincent LeCavalier's face on the screen. I was like, wait a minute, what's it? And I was like, wow, that's crazy. But yeah, are they there to try and negotiate his departure from Russia? I don't know. I wish it was the case. I wish it was the case. I hope it's the case. It would be awesome if it is. But I found it interesting, the wording. I don't know if you were able to read it. There was a report and an interview with Roman Rottenberg, and Roman Rottenberg talked about the fact that the Canadiens management was in town and that they had been speaking, and then the words he used, and again, it might be something that's lost in the translation a little bit, but he said that they would be negotiating. They would have a meeting and would be negotiating tomorrow. So I don't know what that means. I don't know what they would have to negotiate, but certainly I won't be disappointed if they're negotiating Demidov's early arrival to Montreal. Antti complimenting me on my finish. I appreciate it. Yes, they did break a record for consecutive games with less than. It's not less than 30 shots on goal. It's 30 or less, right, Entertap? So they have had games this year where they had 30 shots on goal, but they have never gone above 30. So again, one of the things I thought was a problem, or I would have liked to have seen, was for them to have sort of maybe continued to push a little bit in the third period to overcome that. I don't know if that would be a statistic that Martin St. Louis would be aware of or that he would care about. But I would have liked to have seen them push a little bit to get over that number because that is a crazy number. Hey, salut, Coach. Bonjour. Thank you very much for subscribing. There's Coach, guys. Coach has been awesome. I've really enjoyed co-hosting with Coach and with Entertap and with Marco, and he's been very generous in allowing me to come on over and be on his show. I really enjoy what he does. I don't think you guys. I mean, I'm not. This isn't a shot at any of you guys, but again, the amount of work that goes into. I don't think people realize and appreciate the amount of work that goes into what Coach does. I know a little bit because of what I do on here. That it's a ton of work, but he's even doing more stuff. Watching the prospects play, preparing. Hey, Dana, what's going on? Come on over and watch us on YouTube. If you're over on TikTok, come over and watch us on YouTube. Watching the prospects, preparing the reports, doing the tweets. I'm not really on Twitter anymore, and I think if you're still in here, Coach, I think you should give Blue Sky a try. There's a really good hockey community going on over there right now. Obviously, the numbers are not the same as they are over on Twitter, but it's a much more friendly place and a far less toxic place. And there is a really good Montreal Canadiens community over there building right now. So Entertap, Coach, I know Entertap's not a big social media guy, but I know Marco's still on Twitter as well. You should give it a try. A lot of the Canadiens insiders, the reporters and stuff have moved over there now. And again, you're not going to get the same level of interaction that you currently are getting on Twitter, but it will be authentic and legitimate interaction. It won't be sort of manufactured interaction. You won't have as many followers, but they'll all be real people. They won't be robots and they won't be trolls, and it's a much better place. So, what do we got here? High danger scoring chances are a stat that assigns a value of 1, 2, 3 depending on where the shot comes from. To me, it really didn't seem too many dangerous opportunities in front of the net. I agree. I mean, I generally understand how the high danger scoring chances work. I'm not going to pretend that I'm an expert on it because I'm not. But again, I'm just at a bit of a loss. I mean, I've always sort of had some question about the numbers when they come out. Like I do the scoreboard after every game, so I kind of follow those numbers quite closely when it comes down to it. And I always kind of wonder a little bit about the numbers and how they match up with what I watched and how the game really played out. But tonight was just so far out of the the realm of it just made no sense to me. It made no sense to me. Yeah, goals were from behind the net, 3 from the circle. Well, exactly. But I mean, you would think that shot, they also, again, when you talk about expected goals, you're also talking about where the pass came from, what kind of shot it is, like, and the fact that these are all passes that are the 3 power play goals, I guess, they're all goals that are from a dangerous place. They're from they're one timers, I think, which gives you more consideration when you do expected goals. There's a bit of a change in direction, right? The goalie is required to move on these plays because the puck is traveling, the pass is traveling a certain distance. So yeah, I would love to have a chat with an expert on that. I've had a bit of a conversation with I've had a couple conversations with these so-called advanced analytics experts. I've had a social media back and forth with Dom Lashishin, and it wasn't really that great. But anyways, so if you're over on TikTok, guys, come on and join us on YouTube. Recliner Sports 4 is the name of the channel. The show is Habs After Dark. All you have to do is open up your YouTube app and go to my channel, Recliner Sports 4. The instructions are all on the screen behind you. Come on over. If you do, you can join in the conversation and you can watch the show with our graphics and you can watch everything. So, yeah, come on over. Mark Elliott. Buffalo had moments of sustained pressure, but often they didn't result in good shots. Don't understand the rationale for the stats. I don't either. You're right, though. There were, like I said, there was a period, about a 10-minute period at the end of the first, beginning of the second, and about 5 minutes at the end of the second where, Buffalo kind of had carried a little bit of the play. But anyways, Demidov can't come to Montreal. I don't know that that's true, Coach. I don't know that that's true. I've heard that said. But as I understand it, they can negotiate his release. Technically, the release has to be made, or has to be requested, and the negotiation has to be with the player, and not necessarily with another team. But I mean, we certainly saw it with Michkov, right? We saw that Michkov got out of his contract before it was over. I know it's complicated and that the rules have changed, right? The rules have changed in recent years with the KHL leaving the Russian Federation, not being part of the Russian Hockey Federation anymore. So there has been a change in the rules, but as I understand it, there is a scenario where Demidov could leave Russia. Again, I'm not 100% confident on that. But my research that I've looked into indicates that is the case. So it was really good to see the power play kicking. Yeah, it was. The power play is nice to see back up and running. I wouldn't expect Laine to have many nights like tonight. Sabres coverage of Laine was not very good. No, I agree with that. But again, I don't think that Laine. You can tell me, Auntie. I think the proper pronunciation of his name is actually Laine. Is that correct? That it's not Laine or Laine, it's Laine. I find it hard to do that just because I've called him Patrick Laine for so long. I do certainly want to pronounce his name correctly, but I do find it difficult, especially when nobody else is doing it. I find it difficult to do that. But in any event, you say you don't expect Laine to have many nights like that. I agree in a way, but I disagree in another. I think he's still got room for improvement. So again, I think that the Sabres did drop the ball on their coverage on him on the power play tonight. But again, I think you're going to see, his skating get better. You're going to see his fitness and his cardio and all that get better. I think you're going to see other aspects of his game improve as well, to the point where he'll be able to score goals, not just because he's left alone, but for other reasons as well. Yeah, UPL kind of struggled as well. He struggled in his tracking the puck a little bit. Their diamond was off and they lost their shape. Remember, we talked about that the other day in the show. I talked about their shape, right? Their diamond, their shape fell apart on a number of times. Their power play coverage, their defensive zone coverage on power play. So, Buffalo also misses Darlene. Yes, yeah, 100%. Yeah, but again, guys, we can talk about that, right? Like the other night, Pittsburgh was missing players. Anaheim was missing Carlson and Zegras, right? You have to play the team that's presented to you. You have to do that, right? You can't say, oh well, the only reason you won is because this guy did. Good teams beat the team that's put in front of them, and that's what Montreal did. So I'm going to refuse to diminish the win because guys weren't there or because Buffalo's not playing well or anything like that. Michkov was before the new rule, Russian Federation. I don't disagree with the second part that Demidov does have. I mean, again, I don't know that he wants to finish his year there and respect his contract. He may. I don't. I haven't seen confirmation of that. I don't know that I agree with you on the first part about Michkov being before the new rule came in. I don't think that's right. Again, we can talk about that a little bit more if you want. But again, I'm not sure that that's right. I will do more research, but again, I'm not sure that Michkov was before the new rule. I think in fact Michkov was after the new rule, and I think the new rule was one of the reasons why he was able to come over. So that's what you guys are both saying, Line A, but I believe the proper pronunciation of his name is actually Lina. Auntie will know, yeah, like net without the T. Yeah, so Lina. Right, Line, but not Line, it's Line or Line. So yeah. Anyways, I would like to pronounce his name right, but I find you almost come off as being obnoxious a little bit when you're the only one who's pronouncing a guy's name right. I mean, it sounds weird to say that, but yeah. I don't care what anyone says. Lane Hudson, definitely rookie of the year. The kid is amazing. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, the kid is amazing. You've got the second part right for sure, Frank. There's competition out there. Obviously, when it comes to an award like that, there's a lot of focus put on goal scoring, and there's a lot of focus put on forwards. I think that in that sense, that Michkov and Celebrini are going to have a bit of an advantage over Lane Hudson. I think there's a perception out there that Lane Hudson is a poor defender from people who don't watch him on a regular basis and don't get what he's done and what he's capable of. So that might hurt him. But again, if he scores 55 points as a rookie defenseman in the NHL, he's going to be difficult to beat. You like Lomberg. Okay, Lomberg is Lomberg. I'm trying to like Lomberg. I want to say he's with Philadelphia, but anyways, read it on the RG website. Yeah, that's the part about him wanting to wait out his contract. Yeah, I think I get that, and I'm not, again, I'm not disputing that part of it. I think there might be a sense from Demidov that he does want to finish his contract, but that might also be something that he's saying, right? That might also be something that he's saying. I mean, obviously, the political situation in Russia is a certain way. Obviously, the owners of the SKA hockey team are very politically connected. There may be reasons for Demidov to say certain things publicly, and they might, mean something else otherwise, right? And it might also be part of the negotiation, right? Like, is Roman Rottenberg benching Ivan Demidov in order to grease the negotiations with the Montreal Canadiens, right? Is he trying to increase the price or induce the Montreal Canadiens to come to him and offer to buy out Demidov's contract? Is Demidov saying that he wants to stay in Russia, and he's willing to stay in Russia in order to bring the price down, right? So I mean, I think there's lots of things going on behind the scenes, and as as Marco likes to say, we don't know everything. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes. We don't know the whole story, but time will tell. Frankly, for me, I'm a little bit disappointed that he's not being properly used in Russia right now. He's not getting the ice time that I think he deserves, or that he needs to have in order for him to develop the best possible way. But if he ends up spending the entire year in St. Petersburg, I don't think it's the end of the world either. No, Entertap. He's not. He's saying it's not line A. It's line line. So the E on the end is not silent, but it's soft, I think is what he's saying. That's what I understood. I heard it from somebody else as well who's Finnish. I should have asked the Finnish guys that I was drinking with when I was in Florida last week, but I didn't. They never did pronounce Lafleur's name right on English broadcasts. Well, yeah. I mean, Lafleur. I mean, it's weird, right? There's sort of three aspects to it, right? There's you could say Lafleur, which is clearly English pronunciation. You could say Lafleur, or you could like really go for it and say Lafleur. Like it's like saying a roi, right? You could say Roy and be really English, or you could say roi or wa and be a little bit English, or you could say a roi and like say it like you're a little bit French, right? So I mean, you always want to pronounce people's names right if you can, Auntie. It's not a hard thing to do, right? I like how Caulfield's been feeding Lina on the power plays. Yeah. I mean, him and Suzuki both, right? Nah. So Lina. I think it's line not Lina. So it's not line A, it's not line E, it's not line it's line. Anyways, thank you, Coach. I appreciate it. Thanks for coming by. Coach is going to do more work, guys. And again, I hope you appreciate the amount of work that he puts in. If you were following the Demidov stuff today that Coach was putting up, I mean, you were getting. I don't know where Coach gets all that information. I watched the game, but Coach has he knows how long each shift was, and like he's just. If you're looking for the inside scoop on a lot of that stuff on the prospects, Coach is the guy. Check him out. Like I said, follow him on Twitter. Hopefully he'll make his way over to Blue Sky. Again, I feel dirty every time I go on Twitter. I still do from time to time. Just basically, to check in on guys like Coach, to be honest with you. Yeah, hopefully he'll be over on Blue Sky soon. Time to watch the Flames and pray for another win. Yes, I should actually put the game on. Stand by. I'll see if I can do this and talk to you guys at the same time. Yeah, they both are. Yeah, I mean the power play looked really good tonight again against a bit of a softer competition, but this is the kind of game where when you get soft competition, you've got to take advantage of it, and it also gives you an opportunity to build your confidence and your momentum moving into the next game, right? So going into Detroit's probably going to be a little bit stronger, or should be stronger than Buffalo, but now you've got some some momentum and some confidence going into that game. Lina has been incredible on the power play. Would love to see him step up a bit on 5-on-5, though. Yeah, absolutely. Again, I don't think he's fully, back to normal form. Keep in mind, guys, that everyone thinks he's recovering from an injury that he suffered in training camp, and he is. But he also didn't play much last year either. So he's not coming back from a 2-month injury. He's coming back from being off for the better part of a year. So it's going to take some time for him to get all the way back. And again, I think a game like tonight will help him. I think as Doc and Slavkovsky continue to improve, I think that will help him as well. Sorry, Doc and Newhook continue to improve. I think that will help him too. So let's take a rip, guys, over here to the. What do we got here? We got. Let's take a rip and have a look at our A team for tonight, guys. So the A team is basically the Recliner Sports or the Habs After Dark version of the 3 stars. It's the 4 guys who I feel like performed above and beyond, stood out tonight, if we can say that. Coach does the stood out, obscure, and to the office. This is kind of my version of that. So tonight we have our 4 stars, our A team. Oops. Almost did something really bad there. Almost ended the broadcast by mistake. So yeah. So here are the guys that I thought really showed up tonight, gave their best, performed, at a level that, had them stand out sort of above the rest of the team. Obviously, the easy pick and the easy choice here is Patrik Laine. The 3 goals, obviously, anytime you get a hat trick is going to put you in the 3 stars or the 4 stars or the A team or whatever it is. So, happy to put Patrik Laine there. Juraj Slavkovsky, I thought, played well tonight. His underlying numbers were very good. He scored a goal, added an assist. I thought he was moving a little bit, quite a bit better. I still think he still needs to get back to being that heavy body, that physical guy that he's capable of being. But yeah, I thought he had a really good game tonight as well. And I thought Kirby Dach played well tonight, especially in the first period. I thought he was a big part of that big good start that they had, right? That good start that they had was in part because both of the top 2 lines were kind of rolling pretty nicely in that first period, right? It wasn't just Caulfield, Suzuki, and Slavkovsky. Doc was playing well on that second line, Laine, and the others were as well. So I'm happy to have Kirby Dach in the A team for tonight. And the other guy is Yoel Armia. Again, an unsung hero, a guy who, still is probably a little bit of a disappointment overall, but again is finding his position with this team, his role on this team. And tonight I thought he performed well and he contributed very nicely. Scored a goal, the first goal, and was involved throughout the game. I thought he played well. His underlying statistics, his expected goals percentage, things like that. On ice, his on ice stats as far as shots and scoring attempts were all good. So I'm more than happy with his performance. So what do you guys think? Is that a good group of people? Do you have guys that you would have had on there? Are there guys on there that I have that you disagree with? Let me know. Let's have it in the chat. So let's see. Laine has been incredible, so we already did that. Hearing the Rangers locker room is tough. Yeah, I would imagine things are pretty rough in the Rangers locker room right now, I would have to say. Mark has an early dentist appointment tomorrow. New Bridge. Oh, that sounds like a good time, Mark. Best of luck. Best of luck. And hopefully that goes well for you. We'll see you, and thank you for coming, Mark. As long as they don't put Primo in head against Detroit, maybe we'll have a chance to win. Again, Frank, I think you need to drop that and give that up, man. He's going to have to play it sometime. You just need to just relax, man. Again, it's not going to be the end of the world if he plays, right? You just got to, he's going to have to play at some point. Montembeault can't play every game for the rest of the year. So why don't you just, relax, take it easy, and just, accept it. Chill. Calm down. Management has destroyed the atmosphere there. Don't know how to capture it this year. Yeah, again, Entertop. I think the Rangers are kind of not dissimilar to what the Canadiens organization used to be like, right? I don't think the ownership is the same. I think the ownership over there is far more toxic than it ever has been in Montreal. But again, a very reactive and reactionary organization that sort of panics before it needs to, thinks that everything needs to be fixed all the time. They don't really have the ability to just sort of relax and let things happen a little bit. So Slav was really solid with his skating today. Yeah, I thought he skated well. I thought his reads were good. Everything, I think everything about Slav's game was good. I just thought, maybe when Slav's at his best, it's when he's using his body a little bit too. Not a huge fan. I see a couple players and like to be moved. Kako first in line. He's ticked off. Yeah. I think Kako is not real happy. I don't know where Chris Kreider would be. How he would be feeling after being sort of singled out as somebody who's on the trade block either. I don't think he deserves that. And I wonder how he is taking that. So I wonder if Hughes has been making calls on Kako. I don't know that that's really something that would interest the Canadians right now. You're right. I think it is a solid reclamation project. But again, I think the Canadians are sort of at their limit when it comes to reclamation projects. They've got, Doc and Newhook, you might throw Justin Barron into that discussion as well. But again, I don't know that they want to have too many reclamation projects on the go all at once. So we'll see. I was worried when Doc got rocked. I did too. I just thought, like, to me, it was kind of a scenario where, here's a guy who's finally, moving in the right direction a little bit, and all of a sudden, you see him, walking down the hallway to the dressing room, and I was just kind of like, please don't let that be, the way this ends. Like, it's just terrible. But again, he came back, and I thought, he looked good for the rest of the game. I don't think he was quite as good as he was in the first period, but I thought he looked good for the rest of the game as well. I watched the Ottawa Charge and Boston Fleet today. It was a good game, 3-2 Boston. Okay, nice. Very nice. There should be a 5-star. You forgot 1-star, Devin Maxwell. Well, the A team only had 4 members, Frank. So you had Hannibal, you had Face, you had Murdoch, and you had Mr. T, right? So actually this way. So you have Hannibal, Face, Murdoch, and B.A. Baracus. So that's why there's 4 members of the A team, not 5. Thank you, Auntie. I thought they were good picks as well. I think there's certainly guys you could pick in addition to those guys. It's certainly more fun picking the players when there's more than enough options than there are on nights where it's like you've got to fight to find a guy or 2 or 3 guys who deserve to be considered as top performers, right? But tonight was fun. Yeah, I thought Hudson had a good game. I don't think Hudson had his greatest game. Offensively, I think he was really good. But again, what often happens when you're judging these, picking these guys for this is you also sort of find yourself judging a player against himself, right? How did he play relative to how he normally plays? So, guys who sort of rise above and beyond the way they've been performing often get a little bit more consideration than a guy who's always really good, and then, sometimes they get the short end of the stick sometimes because you sort of come to expect a certain level of performance from them, which is probably not fair, but it's kind of just the way it goes. So, I like that about Hudson too, Auntie. There's a number of things to like about Hudson, but effort is certainly one of them. Like he never quits on a play, right? Like he just never gives up on a play. There's an example today. I think he had the puck behind the net, and he kind of I don't know whether it was a bad pass or whether he coughed the puck up and it went right to a Buffalo player in the high slot, and he just basically beelined it straight at the Buffalo player and eliminated what probably would have turned out to be a pretty good scoring opportunity, right? So again, I talked on Coach's show last night. Entertap and I were on with Coach last night on Hockey Nation, and we talked about sort of how smart he is, right? Not just smart on the ice, but smart off the ice, and how he's able to adapt and change his game. And and use his, things that people typically view as being disadvantages, how he then uses them to his advantage, his size, right? Like everybody sees his size as a major disadvantage and something that he has to overcome if he's going to be an NHLer. But what he's done is he's actually taken that attribute and used it to his own benefit, and developed skills and strategies to use that to his own benefit, right? So like again, if you're watching him when he defends, typically defensemen in the NHL, when a player gets the puck, they'll kind of back off and they'll defend that person. They'll try to steer him, off to the side, or they'll try and keep them from getting past them. Lane Hutson doesn't typically do that. Lane Hutson, if you get the puck and you're his man, he will charge you. Like he comes at you, like he forces you to make a play. Like so he makes you make a play before you're ready to make it, and he takes time away from you, right? You always hear hockey players and coaches talk about time and space, right? It's the most valuable thing on the ice for a hockey player is time and space. The more time you have, the more space you have, the easier it is for you to make a play. And Lane Hutson understands that like beyond his years. He understands it when he has the puck because you see how he creates time and space with his head fakes, with his skating, with change of direction, with change of speed. He understands time and space, and he's able to create time and space for himself and for his teammates. All of these head fakes that all of the other, the haters that cheer for the Ottawa Senators and the Toronto Maple Leafs, that talk about, oh yeah, Lane Hutson's just like a gadget player, and they're posting videos of him, and his head fakes and whatever. Well, those serve a purpose, and anybody who knows anything about hockey knows what he's doing when he does that stuff. And what he's doing is he's creating time and space for not just for himself, but for his teammates. Because if he has time and space, then that allows him the opportunity to see and find his teammates and get the puck to them in good positions and make the right decisions. When he's on defense, he's trying to take away time and space from his opponents, right? So when that guy gets the puck, instead of backing off of him so that he can sort of make sure that the guy doesn't get past him, he goes towards the guy. He takes away his time and space because he's smart enough to know that if that opponent, tries to beat him, physically, size, power, all that, he doesn't, he's not at an advantage in that way. But, he does have quickness and he does have speed, and he's got a good stick. So if he can get in that guy's face and in that guy's grill and force him to make a pass or to cough up the puck, that's good defense. And to me, that's something that he has been smart enough. Obviously he's probably had coaches who have helped him with that as well. But he's smart enough to realize that, this is not only what he has to do because he's smaller, but what he's capable of doing because he's smaller, right? Not everybody can do that. Like Zdeno Chara isn't going to be able to play that way, or wouldn't have been able to play that well, because he doesn't move like that, right? He doesn't move like that. He's not quick enough to get on top of a guy, because the guy, a lot of players would be able to, make their way around a Zdeno Chara. So anyways, all that to say that, Lane Hutson just has so many aspects to his game and his upside and everything that is just, it's going to be a real pleasure to watch for years to come. If you're over on TikTok, ladies and gentlemen, there's only a couple of you in there. Again, I don't know that it's any use really continuing on with the TikTok lives over there, but if you do want to engage and you do want to be part of the show, open up your YouTube app, follow the instructions on the screen behind me. The channel is Recliner Sports 4. The show is Habs After Dark. All you got to do is just go to the channel, follow the links to the show, come on in. You can watch the show. You can see the graphics. You can talk with the people in the comments. You can ask me questions, and you can be part of the conversation. We would really love to have you. So if you're over there, then come on over here to YouTube. Let's do the... Do you want to do the report card now? Let's do the report card now. So the report card's pretty straightforward tonight, as you can imagine. The report card is sort of my way of assessing the Canadiens' performance. When your team is rebuilding, it's not always easy to assess the team. It's not always about wins and losses when you're rebuilding. Sometimes it's more than that. You can play a good game and, you can lose and play a good game, or you can win and not play that well. We've seen games this year where the Canadian, Winnipeg, right? They played Winnipeg on Saturday night, and they lost. They lost 4-2. But again, I think everybody came away from that game thinking that they played all right. There have been games throughout the year where the score certainly looked better in their favor, but they didn't really play that well. So this is kind of my way of assessing how the team did without relying solely on the scoreboard. So three or fewer goals against, or 3 or more goals for. Right? There's a bit of a standard or a threshold or whatever you want to call it in the NHL. 240 goals, right? If you allow less than 240 goals, you have a pretty good chance of making the playoffs. If you score more than 240 goals, you also have a pretty good chance of making the playoffs. If you're able to do both of those things, then you've got a really good chance of making the playoffs, right? Teams that score 240 more goals and allow less than 240 goals are almost guaranteed a spot in the playoffs, and beyond that, they're probably going to be, well in the mix when it comes to the playoffs. So the Canadiens were able to succeed on both of these ends tonight. They obviously broke out with 6 goals for, and they were able to hold the Sabres to just 1 goal. Again, the bigger issue for the Canadiens this year has been their goals allowed. So it's nice to see them hold an opponent to just 1 goal against. Special teams tonight, if I can just have a quick look, I believe they were, what did they do on the power play? I know they killed 5 of the Buffalo power plays. Buffalo's 0 for 5 on the power play, and the Canadiens are 3 for 6. So again, that's a bit of a no-brainer. The special teams get a passing grade tonight. The power play looked really good, and they were obviously able to shut down Buffalo's power play with their penalty kill. Engagement, effort, and energy. Again, I'm really reluctant to judge a professional athlete's effort on the ice. I think that all of these guys are trying, despite what many fans think. We don't have the ability to tell if somebody is trying or putting in an effort by watching them on TV. It's just not possible. But tonight, I thought they looked good. Their energy was there. They looked like they were making effort. Again, I'm not saying, I'm not judging effort, but it certainly looked that way. They were engaged. They were on top of it. They were on it tonight. Progress. I think this was a game that was a step in the right direction. It's a positive. Obviously, this was a game they should have won. It was a game that they should have dominated, and they did. Right? They met their expectations today. That's a positive. This is the kind of thing you expect to see from a winning team. And that's the kind of performance that you want to see, and it's the kind of performance that they gave. So they showed pride tonight. They stood up for each other. They didn't fall apart when when things might have looked like they weren't going in the right direction. Like I said, that that sort of period late in the first, early in the second could have really been an opportunity for them to sort of let down or give up. Not give up. I don't think they give up, but to sort of like let the game get away from them a little bit. But they didn't, right? They recovered, they adapted, and they came back. Discipline. 5 power plays against is not ideal, but again, we talked about this the other day. I'm really struggling with the officiating in the NHL right now, and what is a penalty and what isn't. The penalty on who was the hooking call on? It was Armia. Armia at the blue line, right? Owen Power gets the puck at the blue line, and he kind of, juggles the puck a little bit, and they call Armia for hooking. Armia literally has one hand on his stick, and he's on his forehand, so he's he's reaching this way. Like, where's my microphone? He's reaching this way with his stick and going outward like this way. Like, how do you hook a player like that? Like, how do you hook a player this way? Like, if you have one hand in your stick, I guess technically you could kind of hook a guy this way with your stick or this way. But like, how do you hook a guy that way with your stick? It's a mystery to me. I don't get it. I'll never understand it. It was a ridiculous call. I don't know if you guys noticed this, and I might have seen it wrong, and maybe you guys can either confirm or deny whether I got this right. But there was also a scenario in the third period where it looked like, I think it was Paterka for Buffalo, butt-ended Caden Gooley in the chest. Gooley went down, and they on the broadcast they talked about how he was going to go to the dressing room, but then he actually never did. Then they showed the replay, and the RDS guys never really made a big deal. They just showed the replay once, and I didn't really get a great look at it, but it looked to me like Paterka, like full-on butt-ended, like right in the middle of the chest, Caden Gooley. If you guys saw it, let me know. I'm not sure if I saw it right. Could have missed it. I'm not exactly sure, but yeah, let me know what you thought. Again, guys, what do you think about the report card? If you agree with me on the report card, are there any? Obviously, the check marks were pretty easy to come by tonight. But if there's anything in there that you think they do deserve a check mark on, let me know. I'd be happy to talk more about it. All right, so let's see. Lane Hudson like how he's playing. The fans like how he's playing. Absolutely. The thing that raises McDavid's level is that level of compete. Hudson is the same. Yeah, I mean, again, I think there's a lot of smart hockey players in the world. There's a lot of talented hockey players in the world. There's a lot of hardworking hockey players in the world. But the guys who are the best, the guys who become superstars, are the ones who do all of those things. Right, those are the guys who combine everything and become superstars, like Sidney Crosby. Right, ultimately talented, pure raw talent, but works harder than anybody as well. Right, so if you notice, Lane Hudson is again. I get that not everybody's going to be able to follow the Canadians as closely as I do, but Lane Hudson is always on the ice after practice. Like, he's always working with Adam Nicholas on one-timers. He's working on all kinds of different things. He's always putting in extra time, right? I posted on Blue Sky today the 12 players that were on the ice for the morning skate today was optional, right? It wasn't required. The entire team didn't need to be there. Well, Lane Hudson was there. There were 12 players there, and Lane Hudson was certainly one of them. He's working as hard as anybody, and it's just, as a Canadiens fan who wants to see this team do well and see him do well and live up to his potential, that's really, really encouraging. It's a really encouraging thing. So you have a great evening. Thank you, Frank. I appreciate it. I enjoy your comments, and I enjoy you being here. Thank you very much. Our PK is so good. The Canadiens' PK has been good this year. You're absolutely right. Their special teams overall, relatively speaking, have been great. Hudson had one. Yeah, that was fucked up. What are you talking about? Are you talking about the penalties, I guess? Reffing has been poor all over the league. Yeah, the reffing is terrible in the league. Again, I don't think it's a scenario that it's particularly aimed at the Canadiens. I don't think it's a situation where Montreal is being treated worse, or it's having more of a negative impact on the team than it is on other teams. But the reffing is just really, really bad in the league. It's terrible. Cohen, what's going on? Thank you. Welcome. I don't think I've seen you here before, Cohen. It was a great game. I enjoyed watching it, absolutely. Again, I think as fans, I think we also, one thing we haven't really talked about is just because Canadiens fans have a tendency to sort of plan Stanley Cup parades after games like this, and then call for the entire team to be torn down after bad games, right? It's gonna if you're like that, it's gonna be a bit of a roller coaster. So to me, yeah, I loved the game. I thought it was great. I thought their performance was great. I'm really happy. I'm encouraged by it. I think it's a step in the right direction. I think they performed like a winning team tonight. They performed like a team that is capable of doing great things. But at the same time, it's not going to mean a whole lot if they go out in Detroit and lose by 3 or 4 goals. in their next game, right? You've got to be able to carry that momentum over from one game to the next, and it has to become a habit, right? Playing games like that has to become the norm and not the exception, and that's how you know when the team has become a contender. That's how you know when the team has become, a force to be reckoned with, right? A team that other teams need to start worrying about is when they start consistently playing like that on a game in and game out, game out level. Like, they play, they dominate teams like Buffalo, but they also, they beat teams like, Pittsburgh and Detroit and, the other team, Ottawa, like these teams that are kind of in the same boat as they are. And then, they start to perform against teams like, the front runners, like the Floridas and the Torontos and the teams out west, like, Colorado and Las Vegas and teams like that. So, um, this year we've seen them play really well against some of the front runners, right? They had arguably their best game of the year against Edmonton. Shutout against Edmonton, 3-0. Is that what it was? They had, a pretty good game against Winnipeg, one of the better teams in the league. They had, the opening game of the year, not a great game, but a good result against Toronto. So again, it's, you've got to beat the teams that you're supposed to beat, and you've got to compete with the teams that, are on your own level, and you've got to, make it hard on the teams that that might be a little bit better than you. So, yeah. Auntie, thank you, pal. I really appreciate you coming over. Thank you very much. We've been trying. Coach has really been trying to help me get some of his folks to come over to my show, and I appreciate his efforts to do that. And I appreciate that you are one of the ones to come on over. So thanks so much, and maybe we'll see you in the next one, either here or over on Hockey Nation. So thanks again, and it was great talking to you. Hopefully we can do it again. It was about the hooking Lane got when I think the Armia got punished on the bad call you talked. Yeah, well, Hudson had another penalty too. It's not coming to my mind right now, but yeah, I'm not really sure about it. But again, it's just these automatic penalties that exist in the NHL right now, like these, if your stick comes horizontally across the other player's body in any way, shape, or form, it's automatically a hooking, right? You're not allowed to tie up your opponent's stick with your stick anymore, right? We saw that in the last game, Caulfield in front of the net, late in the game, right? He's defending in front of the net, and the opposing player is about to get the puck in front of the net, and I don't know what year this changed, but I mean, anybody my age was taught that's what you do, right? If you're in front of the net, you're defending, and the puck is coming towards the net. One, you've got to stay between yourself and between your opponent and the goal. And two, you've got to tie up his stick, right? That's what you're taught to do. That's a penalty now. I don't understand it. I don't understand how you're supposed to defend in the NHL anymore. And they don't, they don't apply the rule consistently. Like the calls aren't consistent. Like 1 minute it's called and the next minute it's not. It's just, it gives the referees too much power and too much, what's the word I'm looking for? Discretion to call penalties whenever they want, right? It's like these catch-all penalties that, if they want to even a game up, or if they want to do this, or if they want to do that, they can do that, just by picking a holding penalty or a hooking penalty or a tripping. I guess just, I don't get it. The quality of the officiating and the rules in the NHL is very, very poor, and it's a problem. So again, guys, if you're over on TikTok, please come on over and join us on YouTube. Come on over. The channel is Recliner Sports 4. Follow the instructions on the screen behind me. Come on over and join the show. The show is Habs After Dark. We would love for you to come on over. So I guess everybody agrees with my report card. I didn't get any pushback tonight on that. That's great. You just have to show compete every game. Yeah, again, compete's a hard thing to judge. I think there's a lot of guys who are competing, but things don't always work out for you. But I agree. It's nice to see everything come together. The Habs have plenty of time to come back, not as a playoff team, but way out of the bottom five. Yeah, I agree. I don't see this team finishing in the bottom five. I've said that all along. I did think at the beginning of the season there was an outside chance that they could be competitive for a playoff spot. I said that. I still believe that. If they stayed healthy, if they, if Doc hadn't had the setbacks that he's had, hadn't struggled to return to his form, um, if Slavkovsky had, returned back to, um, if he had started the season sort of the way he finished last season, I think we'd be looking at a very different situation if Laine hadn't got hurt. All these different things, I think we'd be looking at a very different situation. But again, this is to be expected in a rebuild. It's an expectation in if you're expecting everything to be positive in a rebuilding season, or in multiple rebuilding seasons, then I don't think you really understand what a rebuild is, right? I talk about this a lot over on Coach's Show, where Marco and Entertap, and I sometimes disagree, but like, it's not time to panic. Like, nobody in their right mind didn't expect there to be setbacks. There's Wilbs. What's going on, pal? Welcome to Habs After Dark. Make sure you subscribe, Wilbs, if you haven't already. The buttons are right down here. That goes for everybody. Laine looks like a very good piece for this Habs team. Yeah, I think he's done quite well so far. Obviously, a lot of his performance has come on the power play, which again is not a negative. If he can help the power play, then I think that's a huge positive. But again, I still think he's got room to improve, and I think we'll see him continue to improve on 5-on-5 and other aspects of his game. But again, if Laine wants to score power play goals, it's certainly an element of the Canadiens' game that hasn't been there in the past. So, again, I'm never a guy who sort of downplays a player's performance or a player's production because they get their points on the power play, right? Like there's these people out there that try to diminish somebody because they, oh, this guy's good, but he gets most of his points on the power play. Well, what does that even mean? Do those goals not count? Do those assists not count? It's the same as the people who talk about primary versus secondary assists. Like, why is a primary assist worth more than a secondary assist? Or people who say that goals are worth more than assists. Like, it's just a ridiculous take. I agree that the effort or compete is hard to assess, but sometimes body language says a lot. It's a lot more comparable to other games. Yeah, that's a good question. Let's talk about that. Let's see if I can do this. I want to try this. All right, so let's see if I do that. And if I do that, what happens? There we go. We got Entertap's question on the screen. I agree that effort to compete is hard to assess, but sometimes body language says a lot. It's more of a comparable to other games they played. Yeah, but again, I think that, to me, body language isn't always about effort, right? Like, body language can be about frustration. Body language can be about confusion. Body language can be about injury. It can be about fatigue. It's not. I don't think it's always an indication of somebody isn't trying, or somebody isn't putting in an effort, or isn't that it's them quitting, or not not being there for their teammates. I think that sometimes body language is a result of things aren't working out for you, so you're frustrated, or things aren't working out for you because you're trying too hard, and it's making you try too hard. So again, I really bristle when I hear people say, "Oh, this guy's not even trying out there." Right? These guys are all trying, right? You're not playing professional hockey in the NHL and not trying. Like, it's just not it's not happening, right? People complained about Patrick Laine not trying. But again, now we know that there were issues involved there, like mental health issues and whatever. It's not It's not about, somebody saying to themselves, I'm just not going to try today. I don't give a shit anymore. I'm not trying anymore. That's extraordinarily rare. Extraordinarily rare. Wilbs, also liking Hudson in his first year. He's going to be a big, yeah, he's fantastic. Wilbs, I mean, he's incredibly fun to watch, and as a Canadiens fan, it's been a pleasure to get to see him on a night in and night out basis. He's just exciting. He's fun. He's makes the players around him better. Yeah, it's awesome. How do I think Caulfield is best utilized on the power play now that Laine really has that right circle? Is it the right circle or the left circle? What are we calling that? Depends on what way you're facing, right? I've always called it the left circle, but whatever. But I know what you mean. I think they'll probably rotate through. I think what Laine is doing better than Caulfield right now is he's taking the shot when it presents itself. Caulfield was doing that a little bit more at the beginning of the year. Now I find he's hesitating a little bit more. He's not always like Laine. If he gets the puck and there's nobody, going to take it away from him, he's going to take that shot. Whether there's a guy between him and the net or whatever, he's going to take the shot, and and I think Caulfield needs to start doing that a little bit more as well. But again, I think the Canadiens' power play is best when the players are rotating through all of the different positions. They're not sort of all playing in the same spot, but yeah, we'll see. They certainly have the firepower and the tools out there now to have a really good power play. So Lane might win the Calder this year. Never know. Yeah, he could. Like I said, I think he's going to be at a bit of a disadvantage. We talked about this earlier, Adrian. I think he's going to be at a bit of a disadvantage because there is such a focus on scoring goals and offense. Obviously his numbers are great points wise, but he's only got the one goal. And frankly, the people who picks the Rookie of the Year, I think it's the media. I'm pretty sure it's the media, and if it is the media, that they're not really hockey people. A lot of the people in the media, there are some that are obviously, but there's a lot of people that are picking those awards that they're like the people who pick the 3 stars, right? They just look at the score sheet and see who had the most goals, and the guy who had the most goals is the first star. The guy who had the second most goals is it's that kind of thing sometimes. So yeah. Entertop says, I believe Slav is best utilized in front of the net where he can be a big body. Espo. Yeah, no, I agree with that. But I do think that the Canadiens are going to want to be dynamic about that a little bit too. Like, I don't think they're going to want to have the same guys in the same spot all the time, because I think it allows the other team to prepare better for them. I agree with you. That is Slav's best role, and I think that Caulfield and Laine are obviously better on the in the face-off circle there. And Suzuki has obviously shown a talent for the bumper position, as has Caulfield. So again, I think they're going to want, they're not going to want to just have these sort of static positions for these guys and that they're in the same spot every single time, because then you can sort of you can defend that a little bit more easily, and because you know what you're expecting. So. If you are watching, guys, please subscribe. I've been told by YouTube that only 35% of the people who watch the show are actually subscribed. So it's very easy to subscribe. There's a button right down here below the screen. All you have to do is hit that button and you will be subscribed to the channel. You can also hit the notification bell if you like. The notification bell simply means that you will get a notice on your computer, on your phone, on your iPad, however you're watching this. You'll get notified when we go live or when I post a video. I am hoping to start doing, I have a couple other ideas for a show. I want to start doing a weekly show during the day, maybe in the late afternoon. Maybe you guys can give me your feedback on that, whether you think that's going to be something that you'd be interested in, whether it's something you think is a good idea. If you think it's a bad idea, or if you have constructive criticism or whatever, then I'm glad to hear it. But we are going to start trying to provide more content here on YouTube, starting with a daytime show. I want to start doing some more interview type stuff and some co-hosting stuff where I have other people on the show with me. So if you're watching live or if you're watching in a replay, just hit the subscribe button down below. Help us grow our community here. Help us grow Recliner Sports. Help us grow Habs After Dark. We are pretty new at this. I've been doing this for about 2 months now, maybe a little bit longer than that. I started out doing TikTok lives, and I've moved all of my content over here just because I find it's a better platform. For me, for everybody else, I think it's better. The content is better. The people in the comments are awesome. TikTok had some really great people. I met some awesome, amazing people over on TikTok, but unfortunately, there are a lot of people over there that aren't really that fun to be around either. So it was really becoming difficult to sort of filter out the bad and only have the good. But for some reason over here on TikTok, there seems to be far less trolling, far less toxic type stuff. So that's why we've kind of moved everything over here. So if you are over on TikTok watching us over there, then come on over here on YouTube. It's easy to do. Just go to Recliner Sports 4 on TikTok on YouTube and join the show and make sure that you subscribe. So that's going to be pretty much it. Thank you, EnterTap. I appreciate it. Thank you, Adrian. We had a great crowd in here tonight. I won't go through everybody's name just because there were too many tonight. I appreciate everybody for coming. Again, it was a really good time. I enjoyed the game. I enjoyed the post-game show. What do we have over here? Calgary and Boston. What's going on with the Calgary-Boston game? I'll tell you as soon as the score pops back up on the screen. But no, Montreal Canadiens 6, Buffalo Sabres 1. Definitely a positive performance, a dominant performance by the Canadiens. It's 3-3 with about 4 minutes left in the the Boston Calgary game. If you're interested in checking that out, guys. 6-1 Montreal, dominant game. They played well. They jumped on top of the Sabres early. They scored 20 seconds into the game. They carried the game all the way through. The game was really never in doubt. Maybe very briefly in the first period when Buffalo made it 2-1, there might have been some concern there, but beyond that, there really was no concern. Really nice performance by the team. Patrick Laine with a hat trick, his first as a Montreal Canadien, all three on the power play. The Canadiens' power play went 3 for 5 tonight. 3 for 6, I believe, actually. No, 3 for 5. Anyways, they had 3 goals in the power play. They killed off all of the Buffalo power plays. The key will be seeing whether or not they can carry this momentum, this performance, over to the Red Wings games on the weekend, Friday and Saturday, I believe it is. Yes, Adrian is telling me, Friday and Saturday against the Red Wings. We probably will see Caden Primo, guys, so that'll be interesting to watch. Hopefully he can put in a good performance and turn his season around a little bit. I think the Canadiens are going to need him to a certain extent. So it'll be interesting to see how he does. But again, 6-1 Montreal Canadiens, great game. The proof in the pudding will be whether or not they can carry that over into their next game, which will be against the Detroit Red Wings on Friday. Again, another team who they're competing for positions with in the Eastern Conference. Again, a team that I think they are very capable of beating if they're able to play their game. But I'll be excited to see how that goes. And we will, of course, be live after the game, guys. You can come over and join us. We go live about 15 minutes after the game is over. We really look forward to seeing you. Habs After Dark. Thank you very much. Like I said, if you're watching live, if you're watching in a replay, the subscribe button is just right here. Please hit that button. We're right around 160 subscribers right now. We want to get to 500 as soon as we can. So if you're inclined, if you enjoy the content, and if you are watching, like I said, either here live or on a replay, please hit that subscribe button. Hit the thumbs up too, guys. If you like what you see, hit that thumbs up button. I see we've got 14 thumbs up so far in the live tonight. That's pretty good compared to what we normally get. That's a pretty good number. So relatively speaking, we're doing well, but we could always use more. How many people are still in here right now? We've only got 4 of you still watching, so you guys probably know that I'm winding down, so you're all leaving. But if you're in here and you haven't hit the thumbs up button, do so. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, if you're watching in a replay, do the same. Thanks so much, guys. It's been awesome. I really appreciate your support. I appreciate your watching the show. We enjoy doing it. I enjoy doing it, and I love that you guys are here checking it out. So we will see you next time. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful rest of your night. Peace out.
To Hoffman, Monahan parked in front, docks to Caulfield, fires, scores!
You are about to enter Habs After Dark with Recliner Sports.